for the expedited pace at which you are doing discovery. More so in this case than most, moving at a rapid pace to bring this case to where it needs to be is very, very important. And I see that all of you are working hard at that, and you have my thanks for that. Is there anything that needs to be addressed with regard outside of your motion for reconsideration, Ms. Riello, and Ms. Hogan, Ms. Morales? Is there anything outside of the motion for reconsideration regarding discovery that this court can assist you with at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke with Ms. Morales on Friday regarding some outstanding discovery items that Ms. Medina had been requesting since June 5th. If Your Honor would like, I could name those items. There are 6 of them. I followed up with Ms. Morales via email this week. We still have not received those items.
Well, if you can, why don't you go ahead and detail for me the items you're discussing?
Yes, sir. Item number 1 is Frank Ramos's sworn video statement.
I'm sorry, say that again. Say that again.
Frank Ramos' sworn video statement, which was conducted by Detective Montalvo.
All right.
Number 2 is Frank Ramos's sworn video statement conducted by Detective Elosegui.
Do you have dates? Do you have dates on the individual statements?
I can definitely supplement the court with dates.
That's fine. So we have 2 statements from Frank Ramos. One is a video, the other is a sworn video statement. What's your third item, man?
They're both sworn video statements, one by Detective Montalvo, one by Detective Elosegui.
Okay.
The third item are T-Mobile records that we were alerted of via the discovery that's been provided so far. The fourth item is Facebook printouts. The fifth item is the specific messages that were shown to Detective Elosegui by witness EP during the video interview. And the last item that we have outlined so far are the text messages between Detective Elosegui and witness Verdesia, including the photos and videos. I'm sorry, there's an additional 7th item, text messages between Detective Elosegui.
Well, let me stop you for a second. Your 6th item are text messages between Detective whom?
Between lead Detective Elosegui and witness Verdesia, Verdecia, including photos and videos.
And your 7th item, ma'am?
And the 7th item is text messages between the lead detective, Elosegui, and Frank Ramos, including photos.
Okay.
May I say something else on that, Your Honor?
I beg your pardon, ma'am?
May I say something additional on that?
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a draft 4th motion to compel that actually points, Your Honor, to where in the discovery dates and things of that nature regarding to those items that we are asking.
Usually on something like this, the first question I have to the state is, do you believe that anything that's been mentioned here is not discoverable under 3.220?
Judge, I do not.
Okay.
I do not at this time, no.
So then, do you have a timetable for under which you think you'll be able to provide these?
Yes, Judge, I do, and I was going to respond to Ms. Riello after court this morning. The text message between Detective Elosegui and Mr. Ramos was previously provided an amended discovery exhibit on June 24th. So that item has already been sent over. I'm not aware, but I will look into text messages between the same detective and a Mr. Verdesia. That I'm not aware of. And I thought that the photos shown to Ms. Padron, the photos for a minor were already sent over, but I will look into that. I'm waiting. I have the 2 statements from Mr. Ramos. I thought that I had sent them over. I will send them over this week.
Okay.
And same with the T-Mobile records, which are quite short. The only thing I'm unsure about is Facebook printouts, since it's related to the identity of a minor that was out of state and just how they identified that person. But I will look into that and get with Ms. Riello.
All right. And if that needs any protective orders with regard to disclosure, you'll let me know. It sounds, Ms. Riello, like the state is aware of what you're looking for and is working on it. Also, those two video statements of Mr. Ramos, you would think should be provided as post haste. But it sounds like Ms. Morales is working towards getting all this to you. I'm going to suggest this. Perhaps if y'all would chat after this conference, and if you find that you're still not getting what you need next week, file a motion, and I will, because I haven't, it's clear that these are discoverable under Rule 3.220. You'll file a motion, and I'll give the state a day or two to respond, then I'll sign an order compelling these. But it sounds like they're on their way.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other discovery issues that need to be addressed before I move to your motion for reconsideration?
Only, Judge, I'd like to say thank you to the defense. After our last hearing and a subsequent email, they have filed notices of cancellation of the redepositions that the state was concerned about. So that issue is no longer an issue. And as the last motion was about an evidence review, as I stated last time, we have that scheduled later this month. And so no other discovery issues that the state has.
Again, I'm glad that you all see the need for haste and for moving quickly in this case, and thank you for working so well together. Now, the defense has filed a motion for reconsideration, and while it's not in the title of the motion, it is in the body that they're asking the court to reconsider the orders of back in October and November, maintaining Mr. Rosa's housing with the Miami-Dade Department of Corrections. I've reviewed closely the motion for reconsideration and the supplemental memorandum filed on July 15th, and I'm entering the following order. And it says basically this. I'm going to summarize it for you, Ms. Riello. You have made allusions and allegations in these documents that Mr. Rosa is entitled to treatment under the ADA. Okay? You have discussed standards for people with ADHD and people who are autistic. All right? So, but I don't see that. And we had an extensive hearing with regard to Mr. Rosa back in October and November of this year. So before we go any further in consideration of your motion for reconsideration, you will provide to the court under seal, if you desire, all medical records, treatment records, prescription records, school records, or any other written documentation as to any diagnosis of ADHD or autism that has been made, and all documentation regarding treatment that has been received pre-incarceration. I want to review that first before we go off on a fishing expedition on an evidentiary hearing. Second, I am requiring from anybody who wants to provide it, but I do request the defense to provide this, provision or citation for all Florida statutes and or regulations concerning the provision of educational services to juveniles detained by the Department of Juvenile Justice pre-commitment or awaiting placement in a commitment center. I strongly suggest, oh goodness, yeah, I have it right here. I strongly suggest that you confer with the appropriate authorities in Miami and Tallahassee to determine how DJJ determines what educational provisions are made under pre-commitment circumstances. The defendant shall make this provision to the court. Counsel for Miami-Dade Department of Corrections may also wish to provide this statutory and regulatory guidance. And just as an aside, the Chief Probation Officer, sir, outside. The chief probation officer for DJJ for this region is Val Rose Graham. If you need a telephone number for her, I'll be happy to find you one. The superintendent of the facility over at DJJ, which you're asking me to return this child to, is Superintendent Major Bolton, Bolton. But I often find desk surfing in Tallahassee to be helpful as well. And I gotta think there are regulations and standards that have been reached by the Department of Juvenile Justice for the provision of educational services to juveniles that are awaiting placement. And finally, I am ordering counsel for the defendant and counsel for Miami-Dade Department of Corrections. Hi, Miss Jones-Cummings. How you doing? Drive safely, please. Okay. Shall confer to determine what treatments and or educational efforts are required to meet constitutional standards for the defendant during incarceration. The defendant and Miami-Dade Department of Corrections shall provide to the court, if possible, a joint plan outlining what educational efforts are available for the defendant and what medical treatment, if any, is required. If Ms. Jones-Cummings and Ms. Riello cannot agree on a joint plan, then each shall provide to the court what areas of disagreement exist and what efforts were made to reach consensus. I am sensitive to your complaint, Ms. Riello, that Mr. Rosa may need additional or different educational efforts over at Metro West. But I'd like to know what the standards are that are followed by DJJ and any other jail in this state. And then I want to see if the defense and Miami-Dade Department of Corrections can agree on what needs to be done to make sure that your client's constitutional rights are not violated. The provision of the materials that I am requiring in this order shall be made to the court on or before July 30, 2024. At that time, once I've received all of your materials, I will then discuss with you appropriate dates for a future status to determine whether an evidentiary hearing is required in this matter. Is there anything else we need to work with today? I'd like you to absorb this order, and I look forward to your provision of materials by July 30. I hope everybody can work through this, because I certainly don't want Mr. Rosa's rights to be violated during his pretrial detention period. Anything else we need to work with? Okay.
From the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Ms. Jones-Cummings, I know I'm throwing a lot on you, but your facilities have some responsibilities, and I'm hoping we can work through this all together in a cooperative fashion. All right?
Good morning, Judge. Thank you. I understand.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, everybody, I'm going to terminate this meeting, and I'll be opening up Division 13 in the normal manner in about 5 minutes. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and all of those who joined us, thank you so much for your interest in this case. We look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, everyone.